There's a little walk around of this Cobra. Whenever you get a new car, you'll notice a lot of things about it that weren't advertised or whatever, but this one's got a lot of little scuffs in it like that. Paint's a little cloudy, it could use a paint correction. It's got some aftermarket headlights, they don't look too bad. The snake is painted black in the grille. It's got plenty of scratches, and the seller did say it was a 6 out of 10, so I'm not going to hold them on that. It does have some paint peeling on the front bumper there. I do notice the color is off from this fender to the door, so this fender's probably been repainted. I did look in there and it's a Ford fender. It has the stamping on it, but I didn't check the date on it or anything yet. And so one of the main problems was this door here. You can see the clear coat was pretty bad. It was peeling. We wet sanded it with 3000 and did some compound with it and stuff, so it looks better. It was like white, but the rocker panels were coming apart, and we put them back together, but the clips were broken and stuff, so it was hard to get that straight, which is another project we're working on, is getting these pinch welds not straightened out but not smashed. Okay, they were all flat, which causes the side skirt to not sit flush in there. When those get smashed, it pulls the skirt down, or the other way depending on how the jack smashes those, because the bottom of the side skirt is connected here, and so you can see how that makes things off. The windshield was broken on delivery, and it turns out it was broken from before. It does have the original car light glass, which doesn't matter anymore because it's broken. It does not have the airfoils on the windshield wipers, which I would not expect for a 90,000 mile car to still retain the original wipers, although some cars do because they're never driven in the rain. But in this case, the car has definitely been a daily driver. There's a little ding here, yeah. And the car is a little dirty. My friend had washed it, but I would wash it with microfibers, and so yeah, we'll work our way towards the back here. It does have the correct vent on the passenger side, but the driver's side is a honeycomb. The interior is really nice. The dash looks great, especially that steering wheel. The leather is really nice on that. A lot of times that leather is destroyed on higher mileage cars. The shift knob, however, does have considerable wear to it. Still the cool Terminator knob with a dent on the button, metal button on the top. Shift boot is leather Terminator specific, as is the leather parking brake handle and boot. It has an aftermarket plaque, which these did not come with, so somebody had added that. And I like that they just put the information of the build date and build number. I don't like when people put their name on there. I know some people want to feel special and have their name on it, but then you see so many of them get sold and then it has somebody else's name on it, so the plaque is basically worthless at that point. You know, it does have Corbo racing seats and no back seat, but the nice thing is they did leave the seat belts and buckles, so that's easy to add, which my friend has bought a set of dark charcoal seats if he intends to keep the car. Has one floor mat with a Cobra snake on it, but other than that, it does look good. Door panels do have the common peeling when these cars see some heat or just out in the sun. My cars here don't have that, although my GT does, and it was in the desert and it was outside a lot, so you can see That one's coming up there, which is normal. And it does still retain the Cobra folding mirrors, so that's nice to see that. Door pull's broken. It has a crack here, but it is an original door pull that has the little lip here. I really don't like the aftermarket ones that are flat right here. You go to close the door and it just feels very awkward. So it's too bad that's broken because that is an original piece. The buttons do have wear on them where you can't see the arrows and the unlock and lock lettering that comes off on all higher mileage cars, and the headlight switch doesn't have the logo on it anymore from being used so much, which is fine. That's 90,000 miles. The pedals, you can see the clutch pedal's missing. It's rubber pedal. This happens on all of them. Even my lower mileage Cobra has this wearing pretty good on it already. And so that's nothing too out of the ordinary for a 90,000 mile car, especially one that's been probably clutch kicked like crazy, river dance stomped at the drag strip. But yeah, beautiful airbag. That's in really good shape. Center console's in good shape. Still has the clip and change. Has LED interior light, which is nice. And I was actually surprised how nice this panel is here. This is usually broken on these tabs, and that they might be broken, but it looks like that's in pretty good shape from what I could see just at a glance. Those are always broken, so that looks really good. I'm impressed with that for the mileage. And this piece was actually different in 04. It's hollow. The 03s had padding in it in the earlier ones. Just 04 was hollow and plastic, where the other one was more of a squishy texture. So that's kind of cool. So being an 04, I can see that's correct, and that hasn't been changed. See, here's the side that has the incorrect side skirt, or sorry, incorrect side scoop insert. This is honeycomb. That's from a GT or Mach 1. And so that would suggest either this scoop was damaged at one point, maybe it got knocked off, maybe the car was hit on the side. There's all sorts of reasons why that could have been changed. Very unlikely it left the factory that way, although I've heard some Bullet Mustangs left the factory with the incorrect C-pillars and glass, or glass but incorrect C-pillar. So there's always a chance of that, but it's not likely, which leads me to something about the engine. It does have 1 4-thread cylinder head, and it's a DA head on this side, and it's a DB head on that side with the 9-thread cylinder heads. So I don't believe it left the factory that way. It's a November built car, November 03, so it's an early 04, and that would make you think that maybe the Romeo plant had, you know, new 9-thread heads, and maybe like for the one side, and they were running, you know, using up the rest of the stock of the 4-thread heads on that side. But I don't think that's likely, because my 10th anniversary Cobra was built in June, and it was the last of the 03s to be made, and it has DB 9-thread cylinder heads on both sides. So that's just something that I think was changed at some point. So maybe it had a head tick issue. We know that this side without a head cooling mod is more prone to overheating, so it could have been something like that. Even though it would have probably had a 9-thread head with better cooling from the factory on both sides, it should have. For some reason, it has a 4-thread head. Now, you never know, anything could have happened, you know, mechanically with that. And so it does have an aftermarket Summit Racing dipstick tube, because the car does have long tube headers. They are BBK, and sometimes those long tube headers have issues with the dipstick tube. Yeah, so the factory one. It is a Eaton car. Looks like a stocky Eaton with a pulley. There's a little bit of belt shred going on here, so it could be a number of things with alignments of pulleys or the alternator. It has a Nations alternator, although the alternator is having issues. Now, under the hood looks pretty good. It does have a little bit of surface rust on the hardware, which is something I always look for to see if it's been a northern car. That will get corrosion just from sitting in the humid air. But it's nothing terrible. It's actually in pretty good shape under here. The factory powder coating on the valve covers is there, but it is pretty dirty, which is normal for a higher mileage car. It does have a Cobra cap. It's a overlay, I believe, that just goes on top of a factory cap, but it's cool, has a snake on it. Aftermarket radiator and expansion tanks. It has a JLT fender well cold air intake. So the problem with this is it comes all the way here for the filter right by the tire, and they have cut half of the fender liner away. I'm thinking because this wasn't fitting with it in there, but the problem is when you're driving in the rain and you're shooting water all over that and hit puddles, that could send water up into the intake and potentially hydrolock the engine. I've heard of that happening. It happened to my friend's GT. I had a fender well JLT in my Bullet at one point, and I was very careful to have the wheel liner in there and never drive it in the rain until I changed that setup. But here you can see the fenders are Ford, and they have numbers on them which do correlate to dates and shifts on the assembly plant. Both fenders here are Ford. So it could just be questioned on why that one's a different color. Maybe it was scratched or lightly dented, a parking lot accident. It could be many things. It does have the build plaque here from the Romeo assembly plant, hand built by those two engine builders, which is really cool. Idle air control has given us a lot of trouble. It actually runs better unplugged at this point, and we did replace that with one and it helped. So we're looking at getting a different Ford original one. It does have a pre-filter here for this side, which is kind of cool. You don't see those anymore, they're hard to come by, but no catch can on this side. It does have the factory EGR still here, but there's some aftermarket T's in here, which is interesting because I don't see a return fuel system or anything. And maybe somebody just played around with it. Maybe some lines were broken or something, but that doesn't appear to be factory to me. It has an aftermarket clutch, but no firewall adjuster or quadrant. And I did adjust the clutch because it was not letting out properly. It was letting off right off the floor. So I had to go under there and tighten the clutch so that it would let out halfway, you know, where it should be releasing a couple inches off the floor. It has a homemade, some kind of a big 3 upgrade with grounds and power here that go down to a Nations alternator, which is having problems right now, what we suspect to be. We ran it with a cigarette lighter volt gauge, and it's not charging. The system is not charging and the battery light's on at this moment, but we're gonna be working on that. They did do something cool here where they welded a bolt in to get this off. This is the cooling system where you would add and burp the system, and those always get stripped out because it's just a 1/4 inch drive square that you put a 1/4 inch socket in to break loose and unthread, but they always strip out. They get corrosion and they get tight in there, and so somebody had welded a bolt in there. So that's something that I had asked my friend to do once for a different car when it was becoming a problem and we couldn't get it off. But I think I did get it off. I think that was my Mach 1, had that, one of my Mach 1s. But yeah, going down the side of the car, this is more of the kind of the heartbreaking scratches. Those are really deep. Went all the way down here. And these, you just kind of wonder where that all came from. There's quite a few on that door. A couple dings here. It does have, and there's another ding there. It does have some SVE Celine style wheels. And I believe these are 17 by 9, but they have a 245 on them, so they're a little stretched. They're a little too skinny. And the insides are wearing just a little bit on them. It has Maximum Motorsports caster camber plates, so it should be aligned, but it might just be out of alignment. The brakes look nice. Factory Cobra 13-inch with some aftermarket rotors. And the rear have some huge 28 by 11 and a half 17 tires. Those are huge, and you can see the tire is getting cut into here by the fenders from not being rolled. With the car being lowered, but the fenders not being rolled, that'll cut into that sidewall a lot, especially in such a big fat tire. Those are 28 tall. I had a set of slicks, Hoosiers, that were that tall, and they really cut down my gear ratio. It's got a ding here. You know, the paint needs a buff, paint correction, the polishing, and I think it would come back. Like, the roof is actually really nice. A lot of times you see them peeling on red fire cars. It's actually in pretty good shape. It just has a bunch of really random and awful scratches on it, and the paint's peeling on the back bumper here too, just like the front. Has a set of smoke tail lights and a 99 Cobra badge here, and yeah, some more chunks missing here, and then Cobra inserts that are kind of the 3D thicker ones. It has an aftermarket exhaust, which is actually a Flowmaster Super 10s, and yeah, they're loud, but for me, I never liked Flowmasters. I think they choke the sound that the 4.6 is made of. I mean, it puts out such a beautiful sound. Here's the Ford Racing diff cover, and it supposedly has the full tilt Boogie Racing entire kit installed, had the IRS dropped out of it. But you can see this is just kind of a welded in kind of makeshift catback. It might be a Flowmaster the way they come like that, but it has some aftermarket tips that can be polished. The car does have undercoating under here, and so that probably helped protect it, or or hit a little surface rust. But under here it looks pretty good. Like, it's not rotten. Just a little bit of surface rust here, where they all get it like that when they're in northern climates. So it's nothing out of the ordinary, and a lot of them have it, and it's not rotten or terrible, but it's there. So now let's look underneath mine, and I'll show you a comparison. You can see here on mine, this is where that other one has the surface rust. So on a clean desert car that's been garaged, it's not going to have that. Still independent suspension rear, of course. You can see the exhaust and the subframe for the IRS. There's a Cobra fuel door here. Aftermarket, of course. Anyway, that's kind of a quick walk around. It's got imperfections, but it's a good looking car, you know, a 10-foot car, and looks pretty clean. I did notice under here, let me turn the flashlight on. It's really low to the ground because I think because the rear tires are so tall, but I mean the chin spoiler is going to be pretty scuffed up from the mileage on the car. I mean, there are some higher mileage cars with minimal damage, but this looks like it has had some paint touch up to it. That looks more of a torch red. You can see the overspray where it doesn't quite line up. And that's basically, you know, it's got some moist gasket fittings, you know, moist, yeah, just gaskets like oil filter adapter and, you know, oil pan, stuff like that. Just what you're gonna find on a higher mileage car. Although it's not super high mileage. This Mach 1 has about the same mileage as it does, and it's really clean underneath. So like if we look under here, see, that's pretty clean, pretty dry. And of course, my other Cobra that has half the mileage. This one's just super clean under here. But anyway, I mean, it is what it is. You know, it's not a garage queen. It has been driven, and it's you know, it's a nice car. So, third brake light is cracked on both sides and missing pieces. But it does have the factory hardware there. Spoiler looks good. There's some imperfections in the paint all the way across it in little spots, but you know, I think that can shine up a lot better. It looks good on camera, of course, but I think it's in pretty good shape. It hasn't been outside its entire life. It was probably garaged and cared for in the beginning of its life, and then changed hands a couple times, and probably lived outside for a little bit and driven in the weather and stuff. But anyway, that's just a quick walk around of this 03 Cobra, kind of a better view of it, and you know what you get when you buy something like this. And my friend had bought it sight unseen, and so when it showed up, he noticed a lot of little things that weren't really explained, especially the windshield, so it's too bad. But anyway, just thought you'd enjoy looking at this Cobra because it is a Terminator. It's a really special, neat car, and it's fun to see it here, and it's fun to work on it. So I have a little bit of work to do to it, some projects and stuff. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more Mustang content.